Hello, everybody, and welcome into my latest live broadcast. It is Halloween 2023. It's Tuesday, October 31st. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in. Back up on the bench, I have the Serve the Home. Patrick from Serve the Home had shipped a server to himself from Texas as he's moved here to the Phoenix area, and it arrived very damaged. So we got it fixed and working, but the case is still really messed up. It's bent and out of shape. It's also not much to look at. So I thought, I think this would be great in that BeQuiet Shadowbase 800 DX case. Because, my first thought when I saw that was, wow, this case is big. What am I going to put in there worthy of a case this large? Well, if this motherboard will fit, which I'm thinking it will, well, then this system is going to not only be amazing in performance, but it's also going to look great too. So today I'm going to go ahead and disassemble it. We'll take everything apart and then reassemble it back into the BeQuiet Shadowbase 800. Hopefully it fits. If it does, then we can recycle this case because it's an ugly, not much to look at. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the Fractal design stuff. I think this is an R7. Good riddance as far as I'm concerned. So hopefully the BeQuiet case will work. We're going to find out today during today's live video. Hello, everybody joining in the chat. I'm sorry you can't see me too well right now as we're going to figure out how to get this thing taken apart. It consumes more than half the bench just by itself. Talk about needing a bigger bench, right? And hello, Oystein and Rick Lakes joining us, Wayne Bennett and Chris Johnson, Patrick Russo and Alan Lindas all saying hello. There's our friend Buster, Peter Laycock saying hello from Bonnie, Scotland, Avery Ramsdorff and Captain Blinsky, Ben Laird, also Ben Laird is in Scotland. And let's see. Nick Poverman says hello. He puts the hell in hello. Avery says he's a member now for 7 months. Right on. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. Les Stevenson said, good evening, Carey. I'm watching from a cold 40-degree Fahrenheit afternoon in Toronto, Canada. I miss Toronto. We're making a trip over there. Anna Lindas with a $7.77 super chat says, hello, Carey, Marlena, and chat. Here's my early fee. Thank you, Alan. And Buster, Peter Laycock, contributes 10 pounds. He says, good evening, Carey and Marlena and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland, where the temperature in Edinburgh, 44 degrees Fahrenheit or 6 degrees Celsius. Mark Baggett, Gil Garcia, and Hell Grubs, George Armstrong, Paul Garrett, Pete Tracker 34 all say hello. Welcome in, guys, as does Thomas MacT, Dustin Fuller, BLD 0550, Jonathan. There's Planet Cryos contributing $5 in super chat. Says PK here. Hello, Carey and all. If you are new in the chat room, please say hello in the chat room. We're all nice and a great community. This is true. A lot of people, they're like, well, I don't really talk in chat rooms or whatever. You should make an exception for ours. Ours is not like any others you've ever seen, and everybody's very kind, and all you have to do is say hello. You don't have to say anything more than that. Just say hello. And let's see. Terry says hello. Carlos Hernandez and Roy Starman and Dwayne Blackwelder all saying hello. And Frank Jimmy says hello. Mats Olov joining us from Sweden says hello. Ron Barnish and Joseph Hawkins say hello. Joseph joins us from New Zealand. Paul O'Brien says hello from Ireland. Ross says it's 33 degrees Fahrenheit and snowing in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Tej Singh says, let me grab a beer and sit back and enjoy the show. Yeah, please do. Make yourself comfortable. Dom Parada says, cheers. And Billy T says, hello from Vancouver. All right. Well, hello to all of you. Thank you for, again, joining me on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon here in Phoenix. If you ever considered visiting Phoenix, October, November is the time to come out. The weather today is outstanding. Just perfect. No jacket, no sweater needed. It's like in the mid 70s. The sun is out. If it was like this all year, oh, it'd be great. It'd be overcrowded, more overcrowded than it is. But I enjoy the 2 weeks of nice weather we get during the fall, and then the 2 weeks of nice weather we get in the spring. Then it's either really cold or it's really super hot. And personally, I prefer the cold. So bring on the cold is all I'm saying. And of course, we'll shout out a hello to Patrick over at Serve the Home. It's because of him we've got this project to work on. I'm debating whether or not to change this power supply. It's an EVGA 1200 watt power supply. Now, BeQuiet did send us a power supply, but it's only 750 watts. And this is a server. It really does need 1,000 watts. And, you know, having a little extra at 1200 certainly doesn't hurt. The power supply was bent. It works, but it's been bent. So I thought we'll take a look at it, see what it looks like in the case. I've got a 1300 watt power supply that's brand new in a box, that's RGB. And if I feel like it, I'll switch the power supply out. But I think when it's put in the new case, you won't even notice the bend. It won't make any difference. The power supply works just fine. And I just need to start tearing this thing down. Right now, it boots up. It works great. This is about a $15,000 computer. That Threadripper CPU, the 3990WX, it's like $5,600 or something just for the CPU. And then the motherboard was $1,100. And it's got half a terabyte of DDR4 ACC RAM. So, you know, you probably get a couple grand in RAM. Nonetheless, you know, we had in the power supply, the case. He had a lot of SSDs in there and a big 3090 graphics card, which is damaged. We're going to just put in, I don't know, we'll grab a video card of some kind just to use for now. I'm still trying to see about maybe having the other graphics card repaired. I reached out to this. Some folks mentioned a YouTube channel called Northridge Fix. They're not returning my emails or my calls. I don't know, maybe they don't like me. Maybe I'm not doing something right and they're not getting the messages, or maybe it's not something they're interested in working on, but I've sent them 3 emails and I get no response from them. I've also called them. No one answered the phone. I left a voicemail. Not the way I would run a business, but I appreciate that the suggestion, but just to follow up with you guys, that they don't seem to have very good customer service. Very strange to me. Arvale says the CPU is more like 1,000 and not 5,000. Go to Amazon and look up the CPU. In fact, I think I have no reason to lie to you. Why would I lie to you about the price? If you're finding a different price, it's likely because either I just named the wrong CPU or you misunderstood what the part is. So if we take a quick look in the video notes, I think we have a shortcut to it. Let's see, what is it? To my channel. To studio, studio. Go to content, live, scroll down. There's the $1,100 motherboard, RTX 3090 card. Oh, we don't have the CPU in there. Is that why? Maybe that's why oh, there it is. 3995WX CPU. Anybody want to give me a price on that in the chat room? A Threadripper Pro 3995WX. Tell me what the cheapest price is you can find from Amazon or Newegg or B&H Photo. Nothing used. Because according to Amazon, doesn't even have a price. This is a 64-core, 128-thread desktop processor. And it looks like, let's see, Threadripper Pro. Let's just do a search for that. Because I pull all the prices from Amazon. Now it's not on Amazon anymore. Shopping tab. See it available for sale. See one on eBay used for $2,300. How much is it new? Here's one on eBay for $6,670. But don't worry, it's just a $1,000 CPU. Just keep listening to the randos in the chat room and on the internet who know everything, so they can correct me when I'm not wrong. It's so offensive. But anyway, you can Google that yourself. You don't have to take anybody's word for it. It's an expensive CPU, and it's an expensive motherboard, and it's an expensive amount of RAM. And so what's not expensive, the cheapest part of this whole thing is this case that it's in. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Fractal design anyway, and the fact that it was damaged in shipping certainly has not helped it in the looks department, and some pieces of it have broken off. So it's really meant for the recycle bin. Planet Cryo says he sees it for $4,200 on Amazon. BLD sees it for $56.99, $5,699 at Newegg. Yeah. Gary Tatum says Northridge Fix is the best board level repair on YouTube. They might be, but they don't seem to care about answering emails or phone calls. So, you know, tried. I tried. I'm not going to bend over backwards to try to, you know, give the guy some work. If he doesn't want it, he doesn't want it. Sometimes the way people present themselves on their YouTube channel is very different from when you work with them in person. So you might think this person's really knowledgeable and does great work, but you try and hire them and they can't be bothered to return an email or a phone call. Kind of sends a different message to me with regards to how well I respect them. But anyway, just following up with you, and I'll look for somebody else. I'll look for somebody who maybe is a little hungrier for the work. We've got some, oh, I see he left some wire ties in this Fractal design case. That out of there. So we're going to just tear this all down. This does boot as you, if you haven't watched the series on this, there are 2 previous videos where the system arrived, you know, it was shipped and it wasn't packed correctly. And the handler, the shipper, really handled it rough. And it was really messed up. It looked like it was ready for the trash heap. But we brought it back to life. And now it's a matter of, now that we have it living and working again, now it's a matter of making it look good again, which means ideally putting it in a much nicer looking case and one without damage, most importantly. So I'm just kind of looking at all the cables as a big mess of cables. And I guess it doesn't really matter where I start. Everything has to get unplugged. And looks like I left the 2 front fans unplugged. All of these front port umbilicals can come off. Taking things apart is easy. Like I could do this all day. When it comes to demoing stuff, you know, I'm all about it. This motherboard's a little funky in that it takes GPU power connectors in addition to the 24-pin and the 8-pin EPS power connector. It uses 2 GPU power connections as well. So these are all power connections, all 4 of these. Then in addition, you need more power connections, like for the RTX 3090. That takes 2 more power cables. So I would say we really need a high-end power supply for a build like this, or any server really is a big consumer of electricity, and it's an expensive box. I personally don't have use for anything of this level of power, but I do want to fix it and make it right. And then we'll get it back over to Patrick over at Serve the Home. Paul O'Brien contributes €2 in Super Chat. He says, "Hail, Carey, the Supreme Ruler." All right, well, thank you, Paul. Thank you for your contribution. And Buster in the chat says his sister's coming home from the hospital tomorrow. Excellent. Hopefully she'll stay clear there for a little while. It looks like he's fighting a bit of a cold. Well, sorry to hear you're not feeling well, Buster, but those germs make you stronger, you know? Build up that immune system. Trying to find a bright side to it. Hey, there's Patrick Kennedy in the chat room. Where? I wasn't expecting Patrick to join us. Let me see. Where? Right there. Turn Patrick blue in here. Right on. So I guess just the first thing I need to do is to start going through and just unplugging everything. I'm not worried about remembering where things go. For the most part, it's all pretty obvious. Anybody that's somewhat familiar with computers should be able to blindly take whatever box of cables and know where they all go. And for those of you that are working on projects that you're unfamiliar with, use your phone and just take pictures of it before you take it apart. Make sure you get good, clear pictures that you can refer back to. And the other thing you can do is use some Post-it notes and write on the Post-it note, you know, this is the monitor cable, and then fold it around the cable so it sticks to itself. The Post-it note will stick to itself. It's a cheap, easy way to kind of cheat. But overall, the system really shouldn't be that hard to move over, assuming we have enough room in that BeQuiet case. Ben wants to know how many people did it take to get this over onto the counter. You can ask Patrick. It still cracks me up when he saw me pick it up, and that when it had the glass on it, and the video card was still in it, which adds quite a few pounds. He saw me pick it up and put it in the car. He's like, "What are you, Alice?" I just thought that was the funniest thing. I grew up in the 80s. You know, you had to be tough if you wanted to live. Seriously. All right, I'm going to remove some of these nylon zip ties. Nylon zip ties? These are Velcro cable management straps, and I'm just going to remove all the cables that are in them because all these cables are coming out except for what's built into the case. Some exciting times for Patrick. Looks like he's found a new studio in Scottsdale, and I'm jealous. See the potential for what that studio can become, and I'm sure he does too. Patrick says, Carey is going to come visit this week. All I need is an invitation. I generally don't invite myself, you know, but yeah, absolutely. Love to see it in person because it looks about perfect. It's funny, I was looking for a studio space for a year, couldn't find one. He looked for a couple of weeks and he's already got one. Although I think he's got a bigger budget to work with than I do. That does play a part of it. All right, I'm just undoing some more of these Velcro straps here. Trying to get everything. Oh, another wire tie. This is going to look so much better in the BeQuiet case. And then I'll strip the fans out of it and just take it down to a bare metal frame. And then that metal can go over to a steel recycler or something. It probably cost me more in gas to get it there than it'll get for it in value. But I think it lived a good life. I think it served you well, right? If you've not checked out the Serve the Home YouTube channel or website, they have, well, there's a lot of business level reviews and information. There's also mini PC reviews, router reviews, switch reviews. So it's not just for businesses. And Patrick's full of enthusiasm and excitement, so he's a pleasure to watch. Bundle of energy. And you can tell he really likes what he does. All right, there's that last Velcro strap undone. You know, if these were nylon zip ties, I had them off already. Some people really like how easy it is and how reusable the Velcro straps are, but for the most part, I think nylon zip ties are just easier. But to each their own. So what I've got all the cables loose back here. See another cable that has to come off. Ooh, that did not sound good. Did I break it? What was that sound? That looks fine. Where's the other half? Those look good. Maybe it just hadn't been removed in a long time and it was kind of stuck. Broke the seal. Maybe. Let's go with that for now. Sure. Sounds good. All right, let me get this turned around. I would normally put this on my Lazy Susan, my turntable, but this is too big to fit on it. Also, down here on the bottom of the motherboard are two more GPU style power connectors. So this board actually takes 6 power connectors off the motherboard. So we've got these two right down there. Not quite sure how well you guys can see that. And then we've got a temporary graphics card in there now just to use as a placeholder because the machine won't give us any video output. We don't have any HDMI ports built on the I/O panel. So have to give it something so we can boot it up. And there's our front ports. LED and switches. Move that over here. And then there's something here. What is this? Oh, this looks like front USB. Okay, that looks good. Here's our front port audio. There. And then everything to deal with the water block, I guess I could leave attached. Once we take the block off, then it'll stay connected to the radiator in the case and it'll come off separately. So while it's one of the last things that's going to come off, it'll be one of the first things we need to put in. So you know. What is this? Another USB 2 header. Let's get that. All right. That over here. These are our front fans. These are our radiator fans for the cooler. There's 3 of them. And then all of our power cables. Yep. We've got 2 additional fans up front, which I never did hook back up because they're not really needed unless we put that big graphics card back in it, in which case, you know, having that extra airflow over it would be beneficial. And let me pull the graphics card. Just a real cheap graphics card in there to get the job done. And what else is hooked up here? We've got the power to the water block that needs to come off the header. This cable here is one of the USB cables we took off that goes to the water block for controlling that. This cable here is what? Can't see it from your guys' side. Oh, okay, that's going to feed the fans on the radiator, and then there's one more cable going to the water block. That is a very cable-y water block. And then that's the SATA power connector that I thought sounded like it broke when I took it off. Easy peasy. And then, let's see. What do I want to do first? I suppose we could take the power supply out. That should be super easy. John Kennedy says, I'm dressed as CareyHolzman for Halloween. Every day is Halloween for me. All right. The thing about the large power supplies is they often have a lot of cables, and those cables are usually quite long because they would go into a bigger, taller case where the cables need to run a greater length to hold more equipment. The more equipment you have, the more wattage you need. So all of that kind of goes hand in hand together and should be expected. Wow. Sure I don't look this Medusa directly in the eyes. Just so you guys know, Patrick recently got married. Give him a shout out and congratulations. A lot of exciting things going on in Patrick's life right now. New studio. New family. New in-laws. It's all right at the beginning, you know? It's the exciting times. Yeah, you can see just how damaged this plate got here. Holy cow. Let's see. I want to just untangle these helical cables. Let's see here. Just want to straighten these out right now while I have an opportunity to. And, oh, I wire tied those together. Good for me. I at least made some reduction of effort. So yeah, there's a lot of cables here. Patrick Kennedy says, ha, many exciting things. Yeah, I wonder how, that's just what I know about. They might have other exciting things going on. I don't have a clue. All right, so you can see this depth of this power supply is, whoops, yeah. Just set that in here. The depth of this power supply is much deeper than your traditional desktop power supply, which usually comes to about there. And this adds almost a whole another 50% to that length. And what I want to do here, first of all, grab that screw that fell down. I don't intend on necessarily reusing any of these screws, but I do want to keep them together. And then we've got more cables. More cables. This all looks to be related to the liquid cooler. And you can see just how empty the case looks by just taking out the power supply, because it's taking up so much stuff. And also I can, you know, from looking at this case from where I'm standing, everything's tilted. So trying to bend this back wouldn't be worth it. And it makes the metal, the integrity of the metal becomes, essentially, once it bends, it makes it easier to bend in the future. It just gets weaker and weaker. So I hope the BeQuiet Shadow Base 800DX is big enough. Okay, there's a fan. And take out some of the screws up here on the radiator. Robert Klein contributes £5. Thank you, Robert. Planet Cryos contributes $10. He says, once again, Carey has the best, honest, and real content. Learning on here is so easy and straightforward. I can't wait to see where this channel goes. We're gonna go over to Patrick's studio. Let's ride on his coattails. Hopefully we'll be able to do some projects together in the future. Once things get settled in, that'll be fun. I think his studio is not too far from where I'm at. I forgot. This is a massive radiator. Why should I be surprised? There's nothing small about this bill. I guess when Patrick was living in Texas and they say everything's bigger in Texas, I guess he took that to heart. Robert said he's in Cumbria, England. Right on. Do I need a step stool? Yes, I need a ladder is what I need. But that's just in general. That's why I like hanging around Patrick. He's not that much taller than me. He's not like Mitch or, seems like every time I bring somebody on the channel, they're always over 6 feet tall, which makes me look that much shorter. And the older I'm getting, I'm not getting any taller. I'll tell you that. Let's see, we can push this through. Push that through. Push that through. And I feel like I want to take those front fans off too. Just completely strip this thing down. And yeah. That'll make it a lot lighter, I can tell you that. So all these cables currently inside of the case are just what's required to operate the liquid cooler. So if you're ever considering going to a liquid cooler because you think they look cool, keep in mind all the extra cable management you're going to have to do. On a system like this, though, you absolutely want to have a liquid cooler for a chip like that. Let's see here. Oh, I got another wire tie. Take it. Oh, you know what? That one can stay on. That one will stay on because it's part of the fan. And this piece here, this comes off, as I recall. Remember, it has a door on it, right? It does have a door. For what purpose? I don't know. Got a couple of screws here, some dust bunnies. Let's see. Let's see. Pull off, or looks like it just pulls straight off. Guess I don't have to worry about breaking it. Aha! Yeah, just lost a few more pounds. Okay. I really want to strip this case down. It's Halloween and I want to make a case skeleton. Okay, grab it from that side, Carey. Hey. Another fan. See, I told you I had fans. The other fan screw, put that with the rest of them. Patrick Kennedy says, I call what Carey is doing Jawaing. Untidi! Oh, man. Why do I keep dropping things today? What the heck? Day's only getting started. That is not off to a good start. But as long as I'm not doing that when I'm putting it together. Not that it matters. I just prefer not to. Now, oh, so much later. Oh, you should pick this up now, Patrick. It's nothing. That is by far one of the heaviest motherboards I have ever installed. Also, I think it's the most expensive motherboard I've ever installed. I'm going to go ahead and remove the water block. So we're just going to take off these thumb screws. What's great about Threadripper is the water block can only go on in one direction based on two of the screws are wider and two of the screws are closer together. So getting the orientation is not optional. It has to go on a very specific orientation, whether you like it or not. And what that means is there's consistency, which I'm a big fan of. It's not up to the whim of the person putting it together. Like an Intel stock cooler can go on, actually any Intel cooler for their desktop processors can go on any of four directions. So your logo could be upside down, et cetera, et cetera. With the, where's my mouse? Over here. With those thumb screws removed, should be able to grab this water block and a wiggle. Pull. That is a lot of thermal material under there. I did it. Done did it good. Tell you what. Now, I want to make sure I don't get that stuff all over everything. So I'll grab a paper towel and wipe all that up. It was running nice and cool though. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. You have. Sorry, it was another Star Wars reference. Got me all with the Jawaing. I'm a big Star Wars guy, you know. I was 9 years old when that movie came out. Never saw anything like that in my life at that time. Blew my mind. I could go back in time and watch the expression on my face as I was watching that movie. That it was classic. So I will use some isopropyl alcohol and clean that off much, much more before we reapply new thermal compound. But I'm just trying to get the bulk of it off with paper towels because using Q-tips or cotton balls would be too painful to remove this much that way. Still a lot coming off in there. The good news is, because everything's prepped and working, you know, we've got an operating system installed on there. In fact, Patrick, I took your original NVMe drive that you were booting from, and I pulled it out in case you want that back for something. I don't think there's anything on it he wants, but he might have use for the drive itself. Now, this motherboard, if you go back and watch the part 2 where we're putting the new board in, has a spot for 3 NVMe's right along the edges. And then it comes with an add-in card that holds 4 more from ASUS. Of course, you have to provide those NVMe drives to go in there. So there's lots of room for storage in this. Plus, you've got 2, 4, 6, 8 SATA ports along with 2, 4. Well, it may just be 2 SAS ports. Got the RAM completely decked out with 0.5 terabyte of RAM, which is insane. Yeah. Do everything big in Texas, I guess. Patrick says we had some footage for tomorrow's video on that drive. Well, all you had to do is reach out to me, Patrick. You know, I can easily, you know, if there was a file you wanted me to copy off of it, more than happy to do that. I've got external NVMe enclosures, and one of the things I've got that's pretty cool, although I haven't really had any reason to use it, this little guy right back here, which is my M.2 NVMe drive dock, which holds up to 2 NVMe's at the same time and can clone from one to the other. Although it's going to do a sector clone, so it's going to take a while. But it's nice that it can just operate by itself. You don't have to plug it into a computer. You just give it power, put your 2 NVMe's in there, make sure you get the target one correct. But also, if there was data off of one of the NVMe's you wanted, I could just plug this in and hook it up to the USB drive, put it on Google Drive, and send you the link. Might be a little late now if you said it's for today's video. Keep that in mind for future reference. You know, a tech guy stuff, pretty easy stuff. Jim KJ3N says Threadripper is way above my pay grade. So is a 13900K. Too rich for my wallet. So Patrick says, I asked someone to send it again. Well, again, if there's if they didn't send it in time, I mean, I don't know if you've already gotten it. No big deal for me to grab it. I've got the drive right over here. It's already, you know, I've already taken it out. And it was a Samsung 980 Pro that was in there. I didn't want to alter anything on it. So, I feel like a magician. Is that your drive? I put a Western Digital 4 terabyte SN850X in there instead. So I wanted to keep the performance up on it. Now I guess I can take the board out. I really should make some room here though. When I take the board out, I'm going to have to set it somewhere. Oh boy. Patrick has seen my place and it's a mess, and I'm going to have to get creative on where I'm going to start putting some stuff here. I haven't even got the Shadow Base 800 out of the box yet, so still have to make room to get that case out. Plus, we have the other build we did in the Shadow Base 800 that I still have to finish as well. So the power supply, as far as damage goes, it looks like mostly the damage was on the frame. Yeah, you can see, if I bring this up to the camera, it's pretty subtle damage there. This should be flush with this piece here. But you can see it's, you know, if you compare it to the other side, oh, that's all completely flush. Oh, that's kind of been pulled out by the screws. And that's what can happen when you have a big power supply that has, and same with graphics cards, where you've got a lot of weight and it's all being held in with, you know, the same little tiny screws that hold in a regular power supply are the same little tiny shallow screws that hold in a big heavy power supply. And thankfully the screws held, but the frame started to bend, the weakest part of the system. We have some other screws here for something. What does this do? Oh, so I guess, let me just try something here. I mean, if you're going to take something apart, why not, totally take it apart? Take every screw out of here. What you could put up here? Maybe a little 7-inch screen or something? Must come out for a reason. Let's see. Let's take this off. If it's got a screw, I'm taking it off. You can't stop me from having my fun. It's the best part. Okay, what's holding you in there, buddy? Well, now, why would these... Oh, I see. I get it. So if your front I/O panel goes out, they've made it so this is replaceable. So if I bring this up here, you guys can see close up what Fractal Design has done here. This piece is a part that you could, in theory, order from the manufacturer if some, your USB ports get damaged or no idea. It's not something that it would be replaced very often, but that enables you to not have to switch out a case because something on the front I/O. Just switch out the panel. And I'll just set that on the floor next to all the other stuff. Lots of stuff. And then on this side, we have more screws over here. Oh. Oh. Got that screw. That is a very different screw from all the others. And there's another one right down here. This piece then is out. And then you've got these like, these are supposed to hold drives or something. I got my torque setting too low for taking these screws out. Okay, Patrick, computer's ready. Some assembly is required. I really appreciate Patrick giving me this little project. I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean it sincerely. It's not often I work on equipment like this, so it's good to keep me fresh, keep me on top of my game. So yeah, these look like they might hold drives. There you go, Patrick. There's the rest of your computer. We got the drive cage in here. That can come out. How is that being held in? Probably from the bottom. Yep. Big screws on the bottom. Well, they don't like to use the same design twice on Fractal, do they? These are completely different looking screws than any of the others we've removed so far. They've got a very wide head on them, and that's so that you can slide them in a track, so you can move this internal drive cage forward or away from power supply, depending on how big of a power supply you've got in there. And then you've got your 2 drive trays and then a couple of thumb screws there. And what's interesting is the motherboard kind of sits in its own little tray that looks like that might come out. Back in the day, it was pretty standard to buy a computer case where the motherboard tray came out. You can work on it separately and then slide the tray into the case. And this kind of reminds me of the good old days when they did that. I wonder if that comes out. Let's see. No, it's got rivets. What a shame. If they would have used screws instead of rivets, then in theory, this whole piece could come out. And then you could work on it outside of the case. Oh, we've got a couple of cables coming off a fan controller that's up here. What's holding that fan controller in? Oh, they've riveted it in. How odd. They riveted the fan controller right to the motherboard tray. Oh, you know what? The rivets may just be for holding the screws in, but I can't get to the screws because the motherboard's in the way. The board will have to come out first. Okay. I guess I could take the radiator out. Guess that's one of the first things I'll need to check and see if a 360 millimeter radiator is going to fit in there. I think that's a 360. Or is it a 420? Find out soon enough. I appreciate it challenging. I kind of hope it doesn't fit, and then I'll be forced, to have to come up with a solution. Otherwise, this will be a pretty brainless activity to just move the parts out of one case into another, unless we get some challenges. Okay, so this is a liquid cooler. And just look how many cables are coming off of this thing. This is just, I hope you like cable management if you're going to go with a liquid cooler, because at least with this one, it's my OBS. You can count the cables here, one for each fan. There's 3 fans, so you've got 3 power cables. Now, if these fans were RGB, you'd have 3 additional cables, so that would be 6. You've got the 2 hoses that bring the liquid into the pump and back out of the pump. And then the pump needs power. So you've got the CPU fan header there. You've got the USB cable right here, and that's going to be so you can control the pump with software through USB. And then we've got the 3 fan headers. So the pump is going to provide power to these fans and control the speed of those fans. And what's the last one? Oh, regular SATA power. And it does seem a little redundant to have both this and the SATA power, but that might just be there for motherboard monitoring. But that is a pretty big liquid cooler, and absolutely one that's needed with Threadripper, because it's a big surface area on the heat spreader that's got to be cooled, and not just any cooler will have enough coverage on that heat spreader. Now, taking a look, it's going to look very different now than it did a few minutes ago. This has become much more portable. Look at that. You see it's bent and it's wobbly. It could be twisted probably, but it's never going to hold its shape. Once it bends, like I say, it'll just bend easier from that point forward. And that's assuming you can even get it to stick. And it looks like maybe a couple of rivets also came out, and that's not helping keeping it together either. Arvale says at 4526 of the previous part 2 video, the CPU is misidentified as a 50.95WX, listed on Amazon at $56.99. Oh, well, I appreciate you pointing that out. Maybe leave that on a comment on that video and we can correct that later. Patrick Kennedy says the USB also controls a tiny screen on the water block. Yeah. That sounds about right, Patrick. I'd say your memory's holding up good. Threadripper Pro 3995WX. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to now take the board back out of here. So just bear with me for a second. Oh, the feet are screwed in as well. More screws I can remove. Let's get the board out first. Now these motherboard screws, I'm going to move them aside. I don't want to mix them with all the others. No reason making my life any more difficult than it already is. 2, 3. One. Nothing in the middle. To the edge. You got to be careful when you take that last screw out, because otherwise the board could fall right out and the weight of it could damage the installed RAM. So we want to make sure that screw somewhere. Yeah, I forgot. There's 4 mounting screws along the bottom of the board. And if I were to allow that board to fall forward, it would crack the board. That's why I always try to be cognizant of removing all the screws from the bottom first. Or if you don't want to worry about that, don't work on the computer while it's sitting upright. Lay it flat and you won't have those concerns. That is a heavy, heavy motherboard. Let's see if I can set this somewhere out of the way just temporarily. Let's put this over here, just for right now. Anybody sitting here? Right there. Okay. So what are we left with? We've got this fan header here that is riveted in with the 2 cables. Oh. Some more stuff I can unscrew. A 2.5-inch drive tray. Rubber grommets. I mean, if you're going to do it right. Go big. That's interesting that those punch out for more cable management. Interesting. How are these held in? I think these are just held in with plastic clips. Oh, fun. Let's see. Bring it around this way. Yeah, that's interesting how they did that. Huh. So I am a little curious, though, how these little plastic holders are being held in here. What is holding that in? Oh. Huh. Not much to that at all. So you just push in on it. It just comes in. Look at that. See what else I can take apart. Take it apart, fool. The feet. See screws holding the feet in, so we'll take the feet off. 1 foot. 2 foot. Red foot. Blue foot. Sorry, I fell into Dr. Seuss mode. Ooh, there's a nice chunky dent right where the foot was right there. Now, I think the fan controller can come out because screws are now exposed to us where they were behind the board before. Just one more. Ta-da! Fan controller. And I'll just put that with the rest of the parts. Guess I can take these little standoffs out. Recycle it all, right? I'll cheat a little bit. I mean, I'm going to work efficiently. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. All right, there's all of our standoffs. I think I have gutted this. Did I miss anything? How embarrassed am I going to be if this BeQuiet case doesn't work? It won't matter. I still won't reuse this case. I do not like it. And I'm strongly suspect that that BeQuiet case is going to be just fun. Oh, we got another Velcro wrap here. We'll put with the rest of those. Well, this weighs nothing now. A couple more rubber grommets here. Okay, have I missed any screws anywhere? Over the top, Carey. Yeah, well, I get a little too excited taking things apart. It's the putting them back together that I still struggle with. All right, let's see, that's how strong I am. I can do that one-handed. Let's get this somewhere. It's somewhere else. All right, Patrick, where you want me to drop that off to you at? Just kidding. so therapeutic. Patrick, I really wish you could have enjoyed that therapy with me. I bet you would have appreciated it as much as I did, maybe more so. Patrick says that's probably the most complete teardown of this Fractal chassis anyone has done. Is there anything else I can rip apart? He appreciates that I did it. So do I. Anytime you need something taken apart, give me a call. I'm your guy. Doesn't matter what it is. Car engine, if you need it out and taken apart, no problem. Put it back together, different story. Yeah, lots of spare parts. BLD0550 says you can get a number 31 drill bit and drill out the rivets. Yeah, I can't be. Matthew Burton says, well, that was fun, right? All right, now the next fun thing is getting this brand new Shadowbase 800DX computer case out of its box. It's a big case. John Williams joins us. He says, good afternoon and happy Halloween. Yes, good afternoon. Happy Halloween right back at you, my friend. All right, let me see if I can get this Shadowbase 800 out of the box here. Oh, wait. I think the front panel has more screws. No. It's just getting silly now. Let me just move this over to where the case is. Maybe I'll get lucky and someone will steal it if I put it out by the curb. Okay, so I'm going to be off camera here for a minute because I need to get this BeQuiet Shadowbase 800DX box. And it's just me here today, so I'm the cameraman, the sound guy, the on-air talent, the lighting manager, the director, the producer, the technician, the gaffer, the gopher, all of the above. Boy, do I need a raise. Okay, so here's the instruction manual. I was able to get that out of the box without any help. And dun, dun, dun. Oh, it's heavy. Oh, glutton. I must be a glutton. Okay. I kind of feel like that Lazy Susan would fit under there, but maybe just barely. Put the styrofoam and the plastic back in the box so I don't mix it up with anything else. But this is the Shadowbase 800DX from BeQuiet. And I think it's going to be big enough. And it's got little RGB strips that go down the sides here that you can turn on and turn off with the buttons on the front. So it's going to raise this up a little bit in the looks department. This is also a heavier case made with thicker material steel. Guessing that's steel. And much like the other case, we do have a glass panel here. The glass panel has two thumb screws, one here and one here. And then we should be able to pull it away or pull it back. Usually you have to pull it away, but the handles suggest you pull it back. So yeah, I have to pull it back. It goes back about a 1/2 inch, and we can put this glass panel right over here with the rest of our glass panels. And that's going to drop about 6 pounds right off the weight of this. Inside, we've got the box that has all of the hardware mounting screws for everything needed to install into this case. What do you think of this case, Patrick? Then I'm going to take out these other 2 thumb screws, and we're going to remove this cover here. Again, it comes back about a 1/2 inch, and then we pull it away. We lose another 3 or 4 pounds there. It's all getting to be lighter. I think this should be big enough. I think we have enough room for the radiator. I think we have enough room for the motherboard. There's no hard drive cage in here. That's interesting. That's all right. I don't intend on using any. It looks like you could hang a couple of 3.5 inch drives back behind the board here, like you would do a 2.5 inch drive. We've got a single fan up front and a single fan in the back, which is fine. You know, if you wanted to repurpose the fans we just took out, that's also optional. BLD0550 contributes $5. He says, that is not soup can metal. No, for sure. Okay, so there's our box of hardware, and we'll get rid of this wire tie here. Should be able to pull the face off of this thing too. If you reach down underneath of it here. Oh, it's got a little piece of plastic covering up the BeQuiet name. Take that off of there. And yeah, I should be able to grab the bottom of this front bezel and pull forward. And off it comes. The front I/O stays attached. I'll set this over here. That back later. And there are some electronic pads that power the RGB in the bezel that make contact right here when you close the bezel back on. All your front port switches and I/O stay attached. Obviously, we've got a filter up here, but here's the thing. If that radiator is blowing air out, we want to keep the radiator, the filter off. We don't filter exhaust air. We only filter air that we're bringing in. So if we're pushing air out, all this is going to do is restrict our airflow, and that would not be good. If, on the other hand, the fans are configured to draw air in from the top, then you absolutely want to use this. What I do with the radiator. The radiator is in a push configuration, so we're not going to use this piece. So I'm going to just put it in the box. Don't even be tempted to use it. All you're going to do is restrict your airflow of the fans trying to push air out through the radiator. And that will be bad, okay? Oh, we've got another fan way up on the top. I don't know why they did that. That fan has to come out. We've got a fan here. We've got a fan here. And we have a fan in the back. So I'm not quite sure why they have a fan at the top. But the radiator, it can go here, or the radiator can go in the front. What do you think, Patrick? Should we put the radiator in the front or the radiator on the top? We have options. So I suppose if we were putting the radiator in the front, then we'd have to remove the front fan, but we could leave this rear top fan. Although that's probably overkill and we don't need it anyway. Heat naturally rises to the top, and any air that is like that rear case fan is pushing air out the back. It's going to create a natural vacuum, which is going to draw in as much air as it needs from the front anyway. We don't have to worry about positive or negative air pressure, because either way, you're still going to get dust, and either way, you still need to dust the computer within the same intervals. I mean, maybe you could go a little bit longer between dustings with positive air pressure, but it doesn't make much of a difference. You're still going to have to do it regardless. So I wouldn't weigh too much into that. Let's see. Guess I was a little premature in setting my torque setting back low. Still missing one more screw. What is it? There it is. Wow, that is really unusual if that screw would be in that. Come on now. There we go. Let's hold this up here. Aha. See. Who do you think has more fans, me or Patrick? I meant computer case fans. I think I meant. Where am I gonna? Yeah, I'll put it over here with the rest of the fan. Patrick says 2 intake fans, but I was thinking radiator in front when I saw it. But I would probably pull the top fan and put it on the front as an intake, and then the radiator on top. Okay. We could totally do that. So the front of this, actually, we could put three fans up there. And this is our dust filter here, which I will, again, I'm going to put it in the box just to get it out of the way. And with regards to the BeQuiet fan, grab that. So the only problem I have with putting the fan up front is it kind of feels like it's going to be short one fan, don't you think? And it's got the cutouts for the cables here. So we would put it in like this. Should I put it on top? Or I could just grab another BeQuiet fan. We could take the BeQuiet fan from the back, put it on the front so that they all match, and then take one of the fans from the Fractal design case and put it in the back where nobody's going to see the logo. Oh, Patrick has to go. Hey, Patrick, thanks for hanging out with us, man, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Back to work. Turn this way here. No, it kind of ruins the view for you guys, but I need to be able to have my tools here. And I see the shroud is going to be a little in the way. This piece doesn't come out, unfortunately. So how do I want to do this? Let's see. 1, 2. Still have to get the bottom screws in. I'll have to come in from this side to get those last 2 screws in there. And then we can take this rear case fan and let's steal it. Move it to the front as well. And that way the front will be fully populated with fans. And then we can put the radiator up top. So that's going to give us a total of 6 fans, plus the CPU. The power supply will have a fan on it. And if we get that RTX 3090 working, that'll be 3 more fans. So even when we're not trying, we're going to have a lot of fans in here. But these systems, these are high power, high wattage, you know, high heat. You know, it's a server, so this ain't exactly a mini PC is all I'm saying. That's going to work just fine. Just a little rearranging from the default fan configuration here. Or we could just throw a little mini ITX motherboard in it and just call it a day. Big old case, little teeny tiny motherboard in there. Hilarious. Yeah, we do have some access to the screws being blocked because of this piece here that's really just designed to hide cables. But effectively, I mean, you can at least get an idea of what that's going to look like. You get those 3 fans on there. And then when we put that screen back on, put the plastic tabs in the slots. So, bada boom, bada bing. I guess I can try and get those screws in on this side down here at the bottom. If I can see. Let's see. One. Here's the other one. And then the question is, how am I going to get to my microphone? Microphone cable got caught on the drawer. Sorry about that. So that bottom one, middle one are in, and then I need 2 more screws. And so this piece right here gets in my way of getting to the back screws there. I'm sure that comes out super easy. Boy, it looks like it just pops out. It looks like You grab this up here, push down, push down. Can't do it and show it to you at the same time. Unfortunately, I have to see it because I've never done this before. So taking a guess here, I'm not looking at the manual. So, you know, where's the fun in that? It's definitely very springy. I can feel from the bottom of this raises up. Just, oh, there's two of them. Let me see. That didn't sound good. That's interesting. Well, now I think I'm committed. It's to be difficult. So they made it so they really want you to take the top out first. Oh, you know what? There's a screw there. And I imagine if I take this one screw out, I bet it'll come out real easy after that. Let's see. Oh, what do you know? Yeah, if you're struggling, you're probably doing it wrong. That's all I'm saying. And that's a very small screw, so we just want to keep that together with this piece. But with that piece out of my way now, I should be able to have no problem getting access to putting the last two fan screws in there. It's just weird that it would also have a screw as well as the clip. Like, it seems to me it's a little redundant, but live and learn. What are you going to do? Much easier to access that now. Yeah, I imagine that screw is optional. Making me earn my money today. Ta-da! Put that screw inside of that. I'm going to move this. Let's see. Let's move it over here. Because I don't want to put that on anytime soon. It's coming together. So you've got room for two 2.5-inch drives here. You can put two 2.5-inch drives here, or two 3.5-inch drives here. So you don't have your traditional drive cages in here. I'm okay with that. That gives us all this room down here for a very big power supply and lots of hidey holes for the cabling. And then you've got this piece here that pops out. If, for example, we put the radiator up front and we need some space, we can pull this piece out, and that buys us a little more room in there. Just so you know. And this case from BeQuiet is a lot of case for 185 bucks. And it's built really well. So I appreciate the folks over at BeQuiet for sending us the case for us to evaluate it. And it just so happened to coincide with this little side project here. And I think I don't think I could have picked a better case if I had tried. This is all just coincidence. So with the case laying flat, I am curious that if this will hold the board. This is a very large board. And, well, let's just see what it does before we go much further. There are 4 mounting holes across the bottom. Let's see. Oh yeah, piece of cake. My only concern at this point is, wait for it. Where's the, yeah, center post does, the center standoff does have a post on it. Just can't seem to locate it in this odd position that I'm in. Yeah. This is why I need a bigger bench. As long as I didn't knock myself offline. Let's see. Did I break it? Something. Nope, still works. Very good. Very good. Okay. How about if I just leave it on the floor, and then if it falls, it has nowhere to fall to. Wow, this is a big motherboard. Holy cow. For some reason, that center standoff post isn't going through, but I guess I shouldn't worry too much about that because I still have to put more standoffs, a lot more standoffs in here. Because of this back plate. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so where there are holes for standoffs with the letter E, that's EATX, Extended-ATX, that's the size of this board. So this board's just a bit wider than most by a few inches, a couple inches. And in the box that came with this case, right here, there should be hopefully enough extra standoffs for us. I think otherwise, all the other standoffs, there's 9 standoffs in the standard position, with the center one being the post that I was struggling to get aligned. But like I said, until I get the other standoffs in anyway, it's not that important at this point. This is, I guess this is for adding more 3.5-inch drives. You need this piece, and then you need the trays, and I guess you have to buy the trays separately. Either way, we don't need it. And they already give you adequate room for 2 3.5-inch drives, you know, hanging off the back of the motherboard tray, which is traditionally what you get out of a drive cage, which is 2 drives without all that bulk. Says it looks like the I/O is too big for the case. Oh, I'll have to look into that. Let me get these standoffs in first. I/O should be standard size. We've got some washers in here and a little standoff socket included, and the washers would be used for 3.5-inch drive mount. So we shouldn't need any of that. Then we've got the that extra metal piece put back in the box. Got what looks like these longer screws, which is likely what's used with those washers that are in the bag that have the shoulder on these. There's 1, 2, looks like about 8. So that would make sense for 2 3.5-inch drives to use those. And we've got some standard hex head screws. Oh, and we have a bunch of standoffs, a bunch. So I'll separate these bags out. I don't like that they're all attached together. Like, it doesn't make it easy to open a bag in the middle, you know? So for now, goes there. And we'll open this bag here. Thanks. Well, isn't that interesting? These standoffs don't, those aren't standoffs, Carey. At first glance, these look like standoffs, but these are little thumb screws, like for mounting 2.5-inch drives with thumb screws. Very unusual. I'm going to put those in a reclosable Ziploc because those aren't the screws I'm looking for. So let's put these back in here. How unusual is that? Don't lose those. I don't know where you're going to buy any more. Okay, so when it comes to the standoffs, did they not give us extra? Probably in here. There's the standoff socket. Well, that's not good. There's just some screws and washers and a standoff socket, but no standoffs. Paul O'Brien contributes €2. He says, I am a keyboard warrior. Okay, there's no standoffs in this bag. No standoffs in that bag. There's no standoffs. So they don't give us extra standoffs? There's nothing else in this box. So they've got a space for the standoffs on the motherboard tray. And they've given us a standoff socket. Well, there's an unexpected twist. But remember, I took the standoffs out of the old case. They might work in this one. Maybe. Let's see. Seemed good to me. How odd. They give us the mounting points for the standoffs, but they don't give us the standoffs. You think there'd be at least two in there. I guess they give you the standoff socket to move or remove any existing standoffs, but not necessarily to add any, despite how big the case is and what it's designed to hold. Ah, that's kind of weird. I'll have to bring that up to the folks over at BeQuiet, and you know, this is why they asked for my review. So that's fine. Weird. That's been me and BeQuiet. Every time I'm dealing with some BeQuiet stuff, they make good stuff and it's sold at a great price, but sometimes they do some things that just scratch my head and I don't understand what they were thinking when they did it. And even after I tell them that, they don't necessarily have a good explanation. So it is what it is. Let's try this again. Tell you where I'm puzzled is it looks like it lines up okay here at the end of the case at the back, but then it looks like it's kind of going up like it's hung up on something, like maybe a standoff is in the wrong position. And because the board's so big and heavy, you know, you can't really see around it. But it's like there's something in the middle that it's hitting that's preventing it from sitting all the way down. I found it actually. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. There's a standoff that would normally go at the end of the board, right in the middle row. And this board has that metal plate that's sitting on top of it. There's no cutout for it. So what I'm going to do, just because of my OCD, I want to take out one of the standoffs that came from the other case. So we'll take out this standoff here. And I'll take out this top right one. Huh. You know, maybe that's why they don't give us any extras. Maybe they figure they give you the socket so you can move the ones around you've got. And I'm starting to wonder if this top one also doesn't have one along the middle. I think only the bottom row takes 4 screws. Let me take another look at the top mounting hole positions on the top of this board. And 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, so the only middle standoff that's used is in the bottom row. So that's what's thrown me here. It's a bit unusual. So what I'm going to do is I'll take out the other standoff. That means we were just one standoff short when it's all said and done. And usually you'd get a standoff with most cases with your parts and screws. That was tricky. Okay. In theory, it should fit now. Oh, what a difference. Oh yeah, that sits perfectly. All right, so 1, 2, 3. One, two, 1, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Say that's gonna work out just fine. I am curious which screws in this bag of screws they intend for us to use to secure the board. Not enough of those. It's definitely not these big ones. These are standard computer screws. They're not necessarily motherboard screws, and that's all they've given us, and they've given us a lot of them. It's unusual. Now, I could go back to the screws that they were using, but these certainly seem sturdier. Let me just check and see if these will fit. Ooh, it's getting hot in here. I don't want to use the electric driver just in case the thread is wrong on these. I don't want to strip them out. Oh no, there it goes. That's interesting because if they're just at a slight angle, they don't want to go in. But if you just slightly change the angle, you screw down real easy. No fuss, no muss. We're going to use almost all of these screws too. And there's one right up in this top left corner, which I'm going to have to feel for. Tighten these by hand, the old school way. Let's work our way around. Double check my work here. And then that leaves us with 4 extras. And do you know why there's 4 extras? because that's how many your power supply needs, and your power supply uses these exact same screws. So weird to be using them, you know, for holding the motherboard down. So I'll set these in this little Ziploc and off to the side, and we can lift this up. And you can see it's starting to look like a computer. All right, look at me go. That was not too shabby. And it just needed that one extra standoff when it was all said and done. And then this power supply tray can come off. And we secure the power supply to this tray, and then we slide the power supply in. And where's my mouse? I think I'm going to wash my hands. I got motherboard juice on them. Where did my window? Ah, there you guys are. Yeah, bear with me for a second. Let me wash all the grime off my hands here before we go any further. And I need a Gatorade. Might have had too much fun taking the other case apart. Spent a little too much time on that because we're already nearing 2 hours on the broadcast. I would at least like to get the radiator installed and then finish it up maybe tomorrow. Should have time to go live. Do some more work on this. But really, it would just be a matter of wiring it all up. It's basically, you know, good to go. The OS, the operating system's installed, all the updates are put in, all the drivers are in. It's just a matter of getting that cabling all done. There's a lot of cables on this. Everybody's warning me my keyboard's about to fall. Peter Laycock contributed 10 pounds. He goes, your keyboard is just hanging on to your workspace. Yeah, it's all good. Lots of people warning me about the keyboard. Guess it was causing you guys some anxiety. All right. So, radiator time. I'm going to take all of these screws here, bag here, all that together. As for this radiator situation, so there is no removable tray here. Sometimes, with some cases, you can install the radiator into a tray and then install the tray. Not so here. So I think if I lay this back flat like I had it, it might make the installation of the... Oh, think a little easier. Turn it towards me so I can see. and radiator. Lots of cables, and we want to go in this direction. Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to pull this back towards the edge of the table, and that should open up the cable management slots so I can slide the fan power cables through. Get them out of the way. What kind of clearance we have here? Oh, oh yeah, that's going to swallow that up easily. Okay, so let me just gently set this down. We're right next to the RAM there, and I don't want any undue pressure on that RAM. And for our motherboard screws, these were our radiator screws here. Yeah, leave it for now. That first screw I used was it came from something else. It didn't come from the radiator, I don't think. I do not think it did. Yeah, those are too big. I'm just going to get these all started. I keep these a little bit loose so they can slide in the track and we can adjust the alignment of the radiator to where we want it. I think this is the last one. Okay. Should cover it. I've got to be very careful when I pick this back up because I don't want that block to hit anything. There we go. Plenty of room. And as for the power supply, we can grab this piece here and those 4 screws we had left over here. And I could put a different power supply in. What do you think? Have well, I think I'll stick with this one for now. Oh, looks like Patrick left the plastic on it. Now it'll look like brand new again. Of course, that's the bottom that nobody sees, but that's not the point. All right. So that piece right there. Hang on just a second while I got this out. So what I've done is I've got a big sledgehammer. And if you remember, this piece was bent, wasn't lined up anymore. And you can still see the damage right there. But now, can't even tell anymore. See? Nothing a hammer can't fix. My motto. In fact, if a hammer doesn't fix it, it's probably time to buy a new one anyway. If not, it will be. Carey's computer repair and dent repair. There we go. And let's see. I'm going to tighten these down a little more just because it's such a big, heavy power supply. There we go. I'll save this little Ziploc. I guess I didn't need to put the screws in there after all. Now, all of these, probably some extras there we don't need to use, but just to keep life as simple as possible for now. In fact, you know what? It's fine. This is a good time to just make sure these are all untangled. I was considering maybe just disconnecting them, but I think Patrick wants them there in case, you know, he wants to do an upgrade or a repair or something and he doesn't want to have to go looking for them. I think that's why they've plugged every single cable into this power supply, which, you know, defeats the purpose of having a modular power supply. But at least you know where your cables are when you need them. Even if they're in a big tangled mess, you know where they are. It's better. And we'll go down. Let's start by just running these cables in there first. So I get hooked up on my microphone cable. That is an art and a talent. Of course, by doing this, I'm just tangling them all back up again, but at this point, I just want to get the power supply seated in there, and I'll worry about straightening the cables out later. Anybody else in the mood for pasta? I think this is a good place for me to stop because we've got all the hardware moved over. All we have to do is hook up the front port umbilicals, hook up all those power connectors this motherboard needs, and get some thermal compound, get the CPU water block reinstalled, recabled up. That's a whole other show on its own. Maybe we could pick this up tomorrow. And the rest of this stuff, we can verify we absolutely don't need this stuff. It can go to the recycler, this thing included. And Get extra parts here and here. That'll stay with the build. And of course, we have to put a GPU in it. I'm not worried about that 3090 at this point. I will. There's a couple other folks that do repairs on those. And because of how much those 3090s cost, it's likely worth repairing it. When we run into some cheap stuff, you know, some people will want a computer fix that's 12 years old or something. And in many cases, the cost of the repair is more than just replacing the machine, and certainly exceeds the value of the machine. So unless there's something like proprietary software or the machine's used in a mission critical process, it's likely not worth repairing older stuff unless it's expensive older stuff, such as this whole computer. It was very expensive. You know, the motherboard alone, as I mentioned, it's an $1,100 board. The CPU's what do we say that was? $5,600 for the CPU. We've got half a terabyte of ECC DDR4 RAM. It's no slouch. And it'll be nice when it has a case that's more appropriate for it. In fact, I think we can put the bezel back on. Bezel over here, right? I don't think I need access to the front anymore. Just like that. I think that looks way better than that Fractal design case. It's probably just as heavy. And I think even before that Fractal design case was damaged, it wasn't very attractive. But server cases, they're not really about anything other than the business of getting her done, you know. There's no reason you can't have a little style, a little class with your server. That's all I'm saying. You can see just how much of the cables and the power supply are taking up of the bottom here, and why it's great to not have a 3.5-inch drive cage, because that would absolutely get in our way down here. So I love having all this space for all of these cables on the power supply. And let me just take a quick look in our chat room here and see if there's any last questions or comments I can address, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. Peter VZ contributes €1. Thank you, Peter. BLD0550 says, do you need a bowl for all the pasta? I think so. Maybe a colander. Filter out the screws. Was the 3090 able to be salvaged? We don't know yet. We need to have someone take a look at it. It should be repairable, I would think. I don't see any physical damage to it. So whatever's wrong with it's board level. Would putting the new power supply in make the build look better? No, because the power supply is RGB, and because we have this big shroud right here, you're not going to see any of the power supply's RGB. It's all going to be underneath this and hidden. So, and for this build, it won't make a visual difference, no. Ben Laird says Windows 11 23H2 is out now in the UK. Yeah, I was told that 23H2 was going to come out on the second Tuesday of the month on Patch Tuesday. But I'm not surprised that Microsoft is not committed to any release date and releases it whenever they damn well please. That's pretty par for the course for Microsoft. 23H2 is a pretty small update given the Moment 4 big update that came out previously. That was the big update. But if the 23H2 ISO is available, certainly a good time to, if the 23H2 ISO, if you download the Microsoft Windows Media Creation Tool from Microsoft. It's free. You can Google, download Windows 11. It should take you to the Microsoft Windows Media Creation Tool. And if it's downloading the new Windows 11 ISO, I highly recommend making new Windows 11 installation media, because then all the previous updates are already integrated into it. So I guess I'll probably do that later and verify that it's out. There's no big rush to go and get this particular update. It will come in automatically on its own. And what it does is it renews the support clock. So, you know, your Windows 11 support is only good for 2 or 3 years for that particular build. So you have to replace the build with a newer build version in order to get your support renewed and continue to receive updates. So that's the most important thing that it does, is it renews the support clock for Windows 11. So it should be a small update. Let's see if I missed anything else. I want to thank the folks over at BeQuiet once again for sending us this case. It just works out great for us. They also sent us a couple of air coolers and a power supply, a 750 watt power supply for me to check out. And oh, and a liquid cooler too. So you'll be seeing some more BeQuiet products in builds. They're not sponsored by BeQuiet. They just simply have sent the products for me to use and evaluate and review. So they will appear in builds as needed. And I don't think, like, if there's a build that I could use all the BeQuiet stuff in one build and call it the BeQuiet build, I would do that. But I'm not purposely going out of my way to build something specifically for that purpose. For this scenario, this just happened to work out great, that this case is so big, and I just thought, what am I going to do with a case this big? And this kind of fell into my lap. I've also got another BeQuiet fan right down here that we can throw onto the back. Because remember, we took that rear case fan and the top case fan and moved all of them to the front. So we have 3 fans on the front when it originally only came with 1. And then we've got some nice classy little RGB strips here that'll light up once we get that all cabled in. And if I haven't broke anything, once I cable it up, and again, I hope to do that tomorrow, should fire right up and bring us into Windows 11. I think I put Windows 11. I don't know what Patrick had on it. Because the board was broken, it wouldn't boot. And I didn't want to manipulate or destroy any data, and I assume what he had was important. I always make that assumption. And even if they tell me it's not important, I'll still make that assumption, because sometimes they forget. So I have plenty of drives laying around. I just throw Western Digital 4 terabyte drive in there, and yeah, this thing should look really nice. It should have nice cable management. It should be quiet, hence the name BeQuiet, and it should look good if I do it all correctly. But the hard part should be behind us now. Everything else is just sort of boilerplate cabling. David Graham says, did you see my super chat? You know, let me check. Because I was so focused on doing this, I wasn't paying much attention to the chat today. And let me give a shout out and a thank you to everybody who has contributed, starting with Alan Lindas, our good friend Peter Laycock, or as we call him, Buster, Planet Cryos and Paul O'Brien. And a thank you to Randy G for becoming a member of the channel. Welcome in as a member, Randy. Thank you. Matthew Burden renews his membership now for month number 17. Right on. Thanks, guys. Robert Klein with a super chat. Planet Cryos with another super chat. BLD0550. Thank you for your super chat. And another from Peter Laycock warning me that my keyboard's going to fall. Thanks, Peter. And another from Paul O'Brien and Peter VZ and David Graham. There he is right there. Most recent. Thank you for your super chats, for your support of the channel, for helping to keep this channel free of corporate control. And for that, I can't thank you enough. So we can continue to make the content we want to make, using the equipment we want to use, and saying what we want to say, how we want to say it, and when we want to say it, without some corporate overlord telling us what we are allowed and not allowed to do, or when we have to do it. And your financial contributions help make this possible. In the video description below this video are links to all the parts used in today's video. If anything's missing or wrong, just leave a comment and let me know. Those are little administrative things that we can address. Also, thanks to Patrick Kennedy over at Serve the Home for humoring me, letting me take on this project. I've really enjoyed this. I like that there's no pressure. A lot of times when people have you fix stuff, they need it right away. They need it yesterday, and they want to pay a little tiny amount of money. So for this, it's really just about getting this bad boy up and running again and making it better than it ever was, ever. So it's not just about fixing it, making it better. And thanks to all of you for hanging out, all my friends in blue, all the folks with badges, all my members. Thank you to Mara, the camera girl, for the thumbnail used in today's video and all the tags and keywords we use. And another shout out to our good friend Brian Cometa over at $300 Data Recovery. I hope you never need data recovery. I hope you're always making backups when you don't need them, so that when you need them, you'll have them. But if you do pay for data recovery, I hope you don't pay too much. And Brian Cometa is unchallenged in that arena, and nobody comes close to him in price. And he's the highest rated data recovery company on the planet on Yelp. Check it out yourself. Read the Yelp reviews. And again, I hope you never have to use data recovery services. But if you do, I hope you don't use anybody else, because you'll be overpaying. And what else? What else? Thanks to VIP CDK Deals. They provide us the discount link for Windows 10, Windows 11 product keys, as well as Microsoft Office 2016, 2019, 2020 product keys. These are legit, real product keys. They're like 90% off retail price. And they stand behind them. They guarantee that they work. Use coupon code CAREY to get 30% off. Windows 10 Pro license key is $16.16 with the current exchange rate as of October 31st, 2023 here in the USA. And you can use a Windows 10 Pro product key to activate Windows 11 Pro. Do not have to install Windows 10 Pro first. Uses the same product keys, just so you know. May not work the other way around. I don't know that a Windows 11 Pro will activate a Windows 10 Pro, but a Windows 10 Pro, in theory, you could have one computer you install and activate Windows 10 Pro on with the product key, and use the same product key to activate a Windows 11 Pro, but it means the first one will no longer be eligible for the free Windows 11 upgrade. But if you wanted to keep one Windows 10 and one Windows 11, you could do that with one product key. It's not, I mean, technically you're breaking the rules by doing that, but I won't tell if you don't. I'm just trying to save you some money. Oystein with a 100 Norwegian kroner contribution says, thanks for the show, Carey. Well, thank you, Oystein. Thanks for joining us today. And yeah, I will double check and verify that 23H2 is out. And you guys can check that too if you're interested. Oystein says it is out. The image is 6.2 gigs. Ooh, a little chunky. Definitely want an 8 gig flash drive for that. Jim KJ3N reminds you to check out his YouTube channel. He's got a link there in the chat. So when you're done here, if you want more good tech stuff that's honest and unscripted and very, very light editing, Jim's your man. Check him out. Give him a subscription, thumbs up. Thank you again to Buster, our good friend Buster, who stayed with us the whole show today. Right on. I do hope Not making any promises, but it is my goal to be back tomorrow, Wednesday, November 1st, at 1 o'clock Pacific time to finish this up. If for any reason something happens, customers call, things happen. If I don't get the video done on Wednesday, then definitely on Thursday. So one day or the other. And then Friday, I think I have another build scheduled. I think that's the 14900K build. Maybe. Don't hold me to it. It could happen. Thanks for watching. Thank you for all your contributions. The Amazon links in the video description below. If you use those to make any purchases, I make a small commission from your purchase. It's anonymous. I don't know who you are or where you are. All I can see is what was purchased using my link. Even if the link takes you to a product you don't want to buy, but while you're there at Amazon, because my link took you to Amazon, you then search for other things that you end up buying. I get a small commission from that in that same browser visit. And it's an anonymous way to support the channel. LRCX just renewed membership. Now a member for 5 months. This is going to catch you all in a week or so. Going in for eye surgery tomorrow. All right, well, good luck with that. I'm sure that's pretty routine stuff. And hopefully it's just all going to go by the numbers. And then we will see you in about a week. Hopefully with all good news. That'll wrap it up for me for today. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Until next time, bye for now.